I retired 4 days ago. Hooray! Now I'm preparing for 6 or more months without a paycheck. Ouch. Hi, my name is Howard, and welcome to the very first episode of Retirement in Real Time. I retired from the Veterans Administration after approximately 33 years of federal service. I hope you'll follow along with me as I document my retirement journey. Now, I started this channel because there are a lot of YouTube channels and other resources where you can find excellent retirement financial advice, how to go through the whole federal retirement process, just lots of information out there about that. But when my wife and I were researching, trying to get ready for my retirement, one thing we did not find were things done by actual people actually going through the process. So that's why we decided to do this. Now, I'll let you know up front that I'm not one of those fortunate people that has a couple of $1,000,000 in their TSP retirement fund. I didn't even save a dime until I was 40 years old when I came to the VA in the first place. So I have considerably less than $1,000,000 in my account, and I'm still paying a mortgage on my home. I'm also the sole breadwinner in my household, so my retirement and that money is all that we're going to have coming in. And I like to think of myself as kind of an average person, and I'm wanting to make a channel that appeals to the average kind of person who is retiring from federal service, or is about to retire from federal service, or is thinking about retiring from federal service. So I hope that you'll like and subscribe to the channel. I do promise that I'll get better at doing this as I go along. This is my first episode after all. So let's get back to retirement in real time. So it is now January 4th, 2025. I am 4 days into retirement. Yesterday, I got my final full paycheck for 80 hours of work. Because I retired on the 31st, I did work 2 days into the following pay period, so I'm going to get a very partial paycheck in about 2 weeks. So why am I saying that we are preparing ourselves to go 6 or possibly more months without any pay? If you go to the OPM.gov website, then find the Retirement Center, and under that find the Retirement Quick Guide, you'll see there this page that I've got showing now, but it says the process at a glance. And if you look down there on that left-hand side where I've got it circled, it says that their estimate is 3 to 5 months to complete the process. So that's the government's estimate. It could take longer. And then if you read the comments under some of the videos or go into Reddit and read comments about the retirement process, I've shown just a few right here. The process can take longer. Some people get it done right in accordance with their timeline, but other people, it goes much longer. So you kind of have to take everybody's experience into account before you make a decision on your own things. Okay, so I realize that 3 to 5 months is the time it takes for the entire process to be completed. I will get, or at least probably get, some money in the meantime. Now, of course, if you look through all of the comments under all these videos, I've seen people going 18 months or even a little bit longer without any pay, but those are probably outliers. So more than likely, I'll be getting some money sooner. For example, my annual leave payout. I should get that. I might get that as early as this next paycheck in 2 weeks. More than likely, I'll get it the paycheck after that. So we'll have that money to work with. I'll also get access to my TSP. And in my case, and I'll discuss this in future videos, we're kind of wanting to save that and use as little of that as possible, but I will have access to it if there were an emergency and I needed the money. So what we recommend, what we did, and what I've recommended to my coworkers before I left the VA, and what I would recommend to you is that you, while you're waiting to retire, so if you're planning on retiring this year or next year or even the year afterwards, because you can go 3 to 5 or more months without any pay, I recommend that you start putting some money into a savings account, because that money is under your control. You have access to it when you need it, and you can use it for whatever you choose, and you're not waiting for that money to be released by OPM or someone else. So it's just a great idea that you've got it there. Now, if everything soars through and you're one of those folks that gets things in 2 months and completes the process in 2 months or maybe 3, then hooray for you. You've just got that extra money that you put into savings, and you can use it to buy something, get you a boat or new fishing gear or whatever you want to do to start your retirement off right. But if you're one of the folks that goes, that normal 3 to 5 months without much pay, or if you're one of the folks that goes even longer, then you've got money on hand to keep the lights on, put food on the table, things like that. So here is a brief overview, and in future videos, I'll be going into some of these things in detail and how they affect everything. But here's a brief overview of what monies I expect to get and approximately when, if everything works out according to plan. So the first is that annual leave payout. So if you aren't aware, any annual leave that you have left over when you retire, you will get paid out direct deposit in a lump sum. So in my case, I've always carried a high balance. I worked 12-hour shifts in the emergency room for a lot of years. And because I was only working 3, sometimes 4 days a week, I just never really felt like I needed to take a lot of vacation time because I was getting those days off. And so I just always carried a large leave balance. So in 2024, I intentionally didn't take as much leave as I might have otherwise, because I wanted to use that money as kind of a safety net. Because in my case, I went well into the use or lose part, that if I continued working, I would have lost quite a few hours. But whatever balance you have at the end of the year, you get paid out. So that's what we're going to use. So I've got that, hoping 2 to 4 weeks we'll get that paid out. Now, according to the OPM timeline, I'll be getting interim payments in about 60 days, 45 to 60 days. What is an interim payment? So when you get your estimated amount of pension, that's what you're going to get finally. But while they're waiting that 3 to 5 months or longer to get that, they begin paying you an interim amount, which is 60 to 80% of that final amount. Now, in my case, 80% isn't bad. I can probably make it on that, but 60%, ooh, man, that's another reason why we have some savings, because if I'm only getting 60% of that amount, I'm going to need some supplementation, if you know what I mean. Another important thing to know is that during this interim period, the only thing that's going to be withheld from those interim checks is federal income tax. Now, your health insurance and your life insurance premiums are going to be on hold. You will keep those. They're going to make sure that you keep those during this interim period, but it will not be deducted from your check. Also, be aware that state income tax isn't withheld, so you may be responsible for that come the end of the year, so be prepared for that as well. So if you have dental, vision, or long-term care insurance, you're going to have to pay those out of pocket. So depending on how high those are, that could really put a dent in that interim payment, especially you're only getting the 60%. So yet another good reason to have some savings in the bank so that you can pay those out of pocket and keep those things going. 1 to 3 months after that, after I begin getting the interim payments, I should begin receiving my final pension amount. So don't worry though, you do get back pay. So however many months go by when you're getting the 60 to 80%, however many months you have of that, once you get the final amount, you will get back pay for the 20 to 40% that you weren't getting there. Now, don't count on a great big bonus check, because the premiums for your life and health insurance that you weren't paying are all going to be pulled from that final paycheck. So it's going to take a big hit before you get it, plus the taxes and everything else. If you're still watching at this point in the video, thank you very much. Thanks for hanging in there. Stay tuned for the future videos. Let you know if OPM meets its milestones and how things are going, and we'll be bringing those to you in real time. One last thing, though, that I want to touch on. If you've done any research or read through comments on any of those retirement videos, you might have seen that December 31st is the worst day to retire. It's also the most common day to retire, which is what makes it worst, because they have a sudden influx of retirement packets to go through, and it takes them a little bit longer. Now, why did we choose to retire on December 31st? We went through the pros and cons. It's what we came up with. Your mileage may vary. You may choose something entirely different, but here's kind of a few of the things that we thought about. There might be a delay. That's one of the cons. It might be delayed. It might not. Some years, OPM has brought in extra government personnel from other departments, like the IRS. January is not a big month for them, so they have extra people. And some years they've brought in IRS agents to help them go through the sudden surge of packets. So there may or there may not be a big delay. Another thing that we considered, but didn't consider a big deal, was my annual leave payout will affect which tax bracket we're in for 2025. And that in turn affects how much money we might want to work with out of TSP and some other things like that. So we had to consider that. Pros, on the other hand, for us, an important thing was that annual leave payout. We wanted to maximize that safety net. And so by working until the very end of the year, I was, as I mentioned earlier, well into use or lose. So I don't lose that money until the end of the year, or those hours. So we were able to get the maximum number of annual leave hours for pay. So I'll let you know how that comes through. I did read something just today on somebody who had a couple of 100 hours of leave, but only got paid for like 68 of them. So we're really hoping that that doesn't happen, that I get paid for all my hours. Another thing is, weather in Arizona in January, February is beautiful. And I've read before that some people have difficulty when they retire. They all of a sudden they have all this time on their hands, which is one of the reasons why we do it. But if there are certain things that you had planned on doing, but because of the time of year you retire, you can't do, now you're stuck in the house and you're bored, and that can be a real problem for some people. So, for example, if you like fishing and boating, outdoor things that require warm weather, retiring on December 31st may not be a good idea for you. But if, on the other hand, you like skiing and winter sports or winter activities, it's a great time. Or if, in my case, you're in the southern part of the U.S. and the weather isn't a big deal, that works out great for us. But that's a brief overview of why we may be waiting a while, what we've done a little bit to prepare for that, but you'll see more in future videos. But thanks so much for watching. Again, my name is Howard, and this is Retirement in Real Time.